All right, guys, so looking at number 47, it says a teacher gives 4 students different data sets and asks each to find the correlation coefficient of the data. So I'm going to put a box around that because we're looking for the correlation coefficient. The table shows 4 correlation coefficients the students find when computed correctly. So a couple background things on the correlation coefficient. The closer a number, the closer your decimal, so it's always going to be a decimal, the closer it is to +1 or -1, the stronger that it is, okay? So it's stronger as it gets closer to +1 or -1. The closer it gets to 0 means that it is weak, a very weak one. And I kind of try to think of it as like test scores. I wouldn't want a 1 or a 10% or a 50% or a 7. 70 is getting pretty close, but it's, we're passing. But those 80s, 90s, 95s, those are stronger because they're closer to 100%. So when looking at these 4 students, these guys here, like this one right here, Jocelyn, I guess is her name, or Jocelyn, 0.01 is really close to 0. So that is very, very weak, okay? 21.21, that is really weak. I wouldn't want a 21 on my test. And then you've got Han and Amy. Han is at -0.64. Just because it's negative does not mean it's not strong. Again, remember, the closer you are to -1 or +1, the stronger it is. So our strongest student's correlation here is Amy, because Amy is the closest to 1 whole. Even though it's negative, she is the closest to 1, with Jocelyn being the furthest away. So if we look at each of our statements, it says Amy's data set has the strongest correlation. That is true. While I guess it's supposed to say Jocelyn. It just was a typo there. Jocelyn's data set has the weakest correlation. That's my answer right there, because we already identified that 0.01 was the closest to 0, making it the weakest, and Amy's is the closest to 1 whole on the negative side, so she is the strongest.